Hello, I'm Russell Sheffield, CEO and T-Boy of Trident Cloud. We produce an application called Tracked. Oh, okay, lots of incredibly first musical memories, but my real first memory is meeting the guys that became a household name called Queen. My first big gig with my dad. It was 1972, Hammersmith Apollo, and Queen was supporting Mott the Hoople. I was 9. Dad had signed Queen a couple of years previously, and they were touring with Mott the Hoople to support the launch of Queen 1, the first album. I was very lucky because they were all just friends of Dad's, and we grew up in this environment where he exposed us to his business, his lifestyle as a musician from a very early age. And I think it was just another night out with Mum and Dad, really. Yeah, it wasn't really until sort of later in my sort of middle years of secondary school, really, that friends started to say to me, like, "I've just bought this album, your dad's name's on the back of it." Very simply, it was a studio built for musicians by musicians. Dad had worked with Cliff Richard at Abbey Road and was frustrated that he was very much told how they should sound, how they should behave, and he felt that was wrong as the artist. That needed to build something and have a studio where they could work that was their own and would follow their vision and give them the creative space to create beautiful music. So he formed his own little startup, which was Trident Studios. Obviously the first 5 David Bowie albums, the first 3 Queen albums plus post-production on 2 others. Carly Simon, the Beatles obviously recorded Hey Jude there. Quite a few tracks off the White album. Lou Reed. Elton John. Hundreds. Very lucky, hundreds, yeah. It was always known for its drum sound, and obviously the piano, which was famous on many of the Elton John tracks and Queen tracks. But the drum sound, I think, was Dad's proud moment. You know, he actually got recording the drums there with his engineers and the producers the way he wanted it to be done. I think they were given, the engineers and the producers were given all the tools and the creative space to experiment. And instead of the way it was done traditionally in the studio, a certain kick drum mic would have to be used here and a certain snare drum mic would be used here. It was like, there's a bunch of mics, go and play around, go and experiment with it and see what you like the sound of. And I think that was what really appealed to a lot of artists, that they actually could have fun. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But ultimately it was the ability that they pushed the creative boundaries tremendously in lots of ways, including doing vocals in the toilet and stuff, which I think now is quite a regular thing. The early Queen stuff was incredibly experimental. We're talking about multi-layer vocals and really overlaying to the state of wearing out master tapes, overdubs and overdubs and overdubs. And it was the world's first 8-track studio, so it was the first time ever where an artist could have 2 or 3 dedicated tracks just to their vocals, and that became quite significant, as you can hear in the early days of Killer Queen and stuff like that, where you hear completely radical arrangements that you wouldn't normally be able to do. It's tough. It's great the way technology has shrunk it to Tracked, where you can have an 8-track desk in your back pocket and you can do great stuff. But it doesn't mean just because you've got technology you can be good at what you do. As I said, I think sometimes too much technology actually inhibits creativity. The reason why we went down the 8-track route was to keep it really simple, because then you have to be good at your craft. And I think if you're good at your craft, the rest of it comes easy, and you'll pick up people along the way that appreciate your talent and your craft, and they become on that same journey with you, where you end up with a syndicate of people working together on projects that are all very, very talented. And I think the way that the industry now has become very driven by computers with Logic and DAWs and stuff, you can mess around forever, and I think actually you miss the point. The point about creating music is having fun and sharing that experience with other people, rather than focusing on auto-tune or whatever you need to do sometimes. I think it's very prescribed. I think a lot of music is very formulaic now. I think you end up with there are even formulas being designed about what makes a good pop song, and I think that's a shame, because actually that's not the way you expand musical creativity around the world. You have to be prepared to try things differently in different I'm not a singer obviously, but in terms of actually different keys, different expressions, and mix them up with other people that have different skills. And I think ultimately it's about just going with a gut feeling and trying something new rather than thinking I'm going to go and produce the next Britney Spears pop hit. It's not about that. It's about producing. We're having stuff produced on track that just blows me away. We've got stuff from around the world that's just popping up in our feed that daily I'm so excited to hear, because it's not what you regularly hear. And we've now got a whole bunch of people using track just to listen and to understand what's going on in the audience, not just contributors. I think anyone can start a career from their bedroom. So I think that's the biggest thing about the cost. The wholesale cost of equipment has come down to a stage where it becomes affordable to produce really great demos, and the ability to start to produce something that's listenable quality. However, what they're missing is the opportunity to expose that work, and hopefully that's something we're going to build and change. Lord, I would say. I think she's not afraid to step out and do stuff in her way. You have to admire girls like Adele. I mean, she's done an incredible job for the industry, and as a British person, she's done amazing work. And there's obviously Ed Sheeran's this world, but they, again, I'm a bit concerned they're a bit formulaic. Some of the more interesting stuff is people like Willie Vlautin, that I really like, some of the alternate country stuff, that they're great songwriters as well as being able to be very accomplished musicians, where they write stories. And I love the sort of multi-layer telling of their stories as well as the arrangements they produce. Don't give up. Stick with it. Do the gigs, earn your stripes. Make sure you just keep going. If you believe you're good enough, you'll be good enough.